This is Christine. Christine is an albino juvenile hognose snake, and in this week's video, I'll be showing you how I put her little snake house together. Because she'll be growing quickly for the next year, I have her in the tub size that I use for subadult females and adult males. Male hognose snakes are much smaller than females. Here's the tub size that I use for this group, 32 quart tubs with latching lids. Snakes are escape artists. In general, I like to make sure that the snake inside can fully stretch themselves out along the longest side. Here's our subadult and male rack. We plan on getting a rack system soon with the same size tubs just to use our space better. Now looking into the house, we can see a few different things in here. We can see multiple different hide options, a water source, a substrate, enrichment, and a snake. I like to use these double dish food bowls for their water dishes for a few reasons. Some of my snakes only drop feed, which is when you leave the mice for them to find on their own, and it's nice to be able to put the mice in a bowl that separates the food from their bedding. There's also space underneath for the snakes to burrow and hide. Whenever we use this hide for our hognoses, it always ends up being their favorite spot. I like to give each snake some enrichment items, meaning something that they can slither through and over. Hognose snakes' main predators in the wild are birds, so overhead movement is usually threatening to them, and you can see Christine displaying that defensive behavior here. The enrichment items offer a feeling of protection and cover. I use fake plants for the most part, although I do use PVC tubes for them to burrow and hide in. Here's Miss Christine herself. I decided she was next out of the house because she's just going to continue to get more and more upset if I keep taking her things. Christine is an extreme red albino het sable hognose. I love her tiger pattern, and I can't wait to see how she'll look when she's a little bit older and bigger. But for now, she'll just hang out on my lap until we're done. This is one of the hides I use. You'll notice that this one doesn't have a door or opening. It's just an upturned Tupperware container. I like the simple plastic ones that are easy to wash and disinfect, and for the size of snake, it's much cheaper to buy in bulk than similar boxes manufactured as snake hides. I also use flower pots on occasion because they mimic caves and crevices that hognoses like to chill out in. The terracotta pots also stay pretty warm when they're on top of the heat mat like this one was. After moving this last fake plant out of the way, we're left with just the bedding. I recently switched from aspen to this paper bedding that's usually used for small mammals. I did this based on the recommendation of our reptile veterinarian. She informed me that paper bedding poses less of an impaction issue as well as fewer respiratory issues. I do occasionally feed the snakes in their enclosures, so it's nice knowing that if some bedding does go down with the mouths, it's not the end of the world. They're able to retain their burrows and tunnels, and humidity has been perfect. There's also not much of a funky smell, as I've noticed there can be with aspen, and the price per liter is comparable. This is the bedding I'm currently using, although I'm not loyal to any brand. As long as it's marketed as dust-free or 99% dust-free, it'll work. I've also used KT and All Living Things brands with no issues. It's easy to spot clean, as you can see by my trash can full of the stuff. One of the most important factors in reptile keeping is maintaining a reliable heat source. For my snakes, I use under-tank heating mats. I like to aim for the mat to be around a third of the size of the enclosure. I put the mat on one far side to provide a temperature gradient throughout the snake house. The temperature probe is taped directly on top of the heat source, and the hotspot temperature for my hognoses is set to 92 degrees Fahrenheit. This probe is connected to a temperature monitor which turns the heat on and off as necessary. When using an under-tank heater, it's crucial to use the heat monitor and probe to avoid belly burns from crazy hot temperatures. The ambient temperature in our snake room is 80 degrees, maintained by this little space heater that kicks on every few minutes, as our house is normally pretty chilly. Now to reassemble. Christine is still in my lap at this point, pretty hissy and pissy about not being in her house. I'll put the hides back in first, trying to put them in different spots in her house so she'll have different temperature options. I like making each spot hospitable for her, like filling this pot with bedding and nestling it so it doesn't roll around. I put 2 hides in the warm end, and I put the water dish on the cooler end. Putting the water dish on the cool end helps to moderate humidity as well, because if the water dish was directly over the heat source, the water would evaporate and increase humidity in the snake house. Hognoses thrive in pretty arid, dry climates. Next, the enrichment goes back inside. I washed off some snake poop off her flowers before giving them back to her. I arranged the plants so that they cover as much ground as possible, so that when she's moving around her house, she's not afraid of any light or movement above her. She can also slither through the leaves and fake stems like a little wannabe boa constrictor, as I've seen her do many times. Last but not least, Christine is ready to go home. One last look at this little beauty. Her eyes are so sweet, they're like Bambi's eyes. I love her so much, she's so pretty and she has so much character and she's very sweet. Back in she goes, and you can see that I have to kind of coax her off of my hand a little bit. Once she's out and about, she seems to really like curling up in your warm hand. She'll stay in this size of a house for the next year or two while she gets up to size, and once she's breeding size, she'll upgrade to our big girl houses that are about 1.5 to 2 times bigger than these ones. Latching lids are also very important for snakes, as snakes are generally escape artists. I've learned the hard way, if you have to ask yourself if they can get out of that, they can. If there's any doubt, trust in their Houdini abilities. I even have 5 to 10 pound weights on some of my lids and screen tape over some of the holes in my snake homes. Speaking of the holes, they do need ventilation to maintain low humidity. I drilled these and I know it's not pretty. I could sand these down and make them nicer, but we're going to be transitioning to a rack system soon, and these containers will only be used for transport and/or our emergency kit. Here's another snake home with similar stuff in it. This is Paolo's house, and he's not home. He's actually visiting his girlfriend tonight. He has the same double dish water bowl, black Tupperware hide, and fake plants, but he also has a PVC tube that he loves to hang out inside of. This is Sprite's house. I use an old mushroom container for her hide, and while I often find her curled up inside of it, she does need a bigger one soon. She's grown really quickly lately. She also has fake plants and a different PVC tube. Her dish isn't a double, but it still has the channel underneath for her to burrow through. This is Cameron's house. I just took her double dish out to clean it. She exclusively drop feeds from me lately, but she left 1 mouse in the dish from the 3 that I'd left for her, and I needed to wash the dish. She's a very particular lady. She also has all of the same furniture in her house except a different mane hide. She's a beautiful super Arctic albino 66% sable subadult hognose. I expect she'll be around breeding size about 1 year from now. As I mentioned earlier, we do plan on transitioning to a rack system soon, with the same large-sized enclosures for everyone, but the setup will likely be the same because it's worked so well for us so far. Thanks for watching, and if this video had any positive influence on you today, please like and subscribe. We post a new video every Monday with early release on Patreon, where we're also posting daily feeding videos. We're also trying to stream a different snake on Twitch every single day, so go check those out as well as our Instagram and TikTok for more hissy and pissy fun.